All right. This is pretty cool. This is the Apple Watch Series 9, what Apple calls as smarter, brighter, mightier, and what I'm going to call as probably one of my favorite smartwatches in a bit, even if for reasons that are not necessarily conventional to my taste. I mean, sure, this might look like Series 8 and Series 7, but let's just say this could just be the culmination of what this watch should have been since Series 1. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow, and let me explain to you why in our full review. You really have to admire Apple's boldness in how it approached the smartwatch since day one. At a time when most competitors are still trying to make smartwatches look like regular timepieces, Apple instead decided to challenge that premise. I mean, why should a watch be round or squared? And seriously, why should the watch face be skeuomorphic just to look like a regular watch instead of being modular, which means it's more useful to you? You could assume the company risked a lot with trying to defy a very picky market, and yet this is the most popular smartwatch by far, even 9 generations later. Sure, visually it hasn't really changed much since Series 7 became more curvy around the edges. I've actually been more of a fan of the silver variant since it blends best with the watch bands I own, but I don't think I was prepared for how this midnight brings that right amount of contrast to Apple's classic Milanese loop. And this is just one example of how retaining the design language benefits the user, as I've had this watch band for years, and my Galaxy Watch 4 bands don't all work with the 6. That said, the retail combination of this aluminum variant with some of Apple's latest bands makes this the company's first carbon-neutral product. And about that, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really liking these new Nike sports bands, as their recycled material combinations make each item unique. And then I also praise the Apple Watch for being one of the lightest smartwatches left. I think it wasn't until I unboxed an old Casio that I realized just how massive smartwatches have become for the sake of bigger batteries, while Apple provides a large screen experience on a surreal footprint since Series 7. It's not until you start using it that you'll notice the differences. Apple's new S9 system in a package, now based on a 4nm process, is 30% faster and 25% more efficient than what you had with Series 8. This is also the first smartwatch I know that offers an insane 64 gigs of storage, meaning you can load it up with as much music, podcasts, and other media as you'd like. The display also got 2 times brighter, topping at 2000 nits, and yet it can go as dim as 1 nit for dim environments. All this matters because it enables features that really no other smartwatch can do. My favorite one is Double Tap, which I've been using in beta for the last couple of days. I can't begin to tell you the amount of times that I've wished my right hand was free to address something on my watch as I carry other gear. Now you can simply double tap 2 fingers for that to mimic a quick action. Yes, we did see something similar in accessibility before, but the S9 SIP has made that as reliable as it should be. And listen, sure, I do wish there were more gestures, but for now it does offer some customization within the settings. The other is Siri on device. I run in pretty remote areas where signal can be spotty, and it's refreshing to not depend on data for basic commands. I'll also agree with the 25% faster claims. It's only made me use Siri more now that it responds far quicker. And then there's Find Your iPhone with Precision, which is a far better solution than having to just guess where the sound is coming from. That being said, I think that what I've enjoyed the most is watchOS 10. Smart Stack isn't really a new concept, as you've seen widgets on Garmin's and Wear OS, and the Siri watch phase had some elements of that. Here, what I like is that it shifts the jumping into applications paradigm to a smart stack of widgets that you can either define or let the watch modulate based on your day, because sometimes all you want is certain information at a glance, not to jump into the full app. Which, by the way, all of these services also got a dramatic refresh in visuals, like in the case of weather now providing tons more information, or activity now using the corners of the UI, just to name a few. I actually also like that this forced the move of Control Center to the side key, as that means you can now access it from any application. Other little things like the new layout for apps is far easier to navigate than the old scroll around everywhere approach or even the list. And sure, I also like some of the new watch faces that came with the update, though I do miss not being able to quick swipe between them from left to right. I'd even say there's a missed opportunity here in having an additional command on the sides of the watch face. Now, when it comes to fitness, the Apple Watch continues to be the companion that I recommend for most people, but since I came from using the Ultra last year, let's just say there are a few things that I missed. I've always praised Apple's GPS tracking, for example, which continues to be just as reliable this year, though yeah, if you need full precision, then Ultra with its dual-band GPS is the way to go. I find it either on point or slightly behind my Garmin Epix Gen 2, though still in acceptable differences even under dense foliage. I sadly don't cycle on the road, so I can't get you data on those improvements that Apple brought, but my usage of Peloton is just another indication of why this ecosystem matters. Set it up once and then just start your ride, whether on the bike or anywhere really, even on the iPad, and the watch will automatically switch to track your calorie burn, and then does so at an accuracy that nearly matches Peloton's trashy chest strap, which I could not wait to get rid of. Calorie calculations and even treadmill runs are things I'll trust an Apple Watch more than my $1,000 Garmin as well. Heck, even services like Beachbody and Tempo rely on the Apple Watch for these calculations, and of course, you have Apple's own Fitness Plus, which I use for walks all the time, while my kids track their workouts between the Apple TV and their Apple Watches. I'll also say that I do notice the improvements in battery life lasting more than a full day. I mean, the Apple Watch was never really bad, but now I notice that it lasts more even after some good amount of workouts, though, of course, if you're doing more than a couple of hours, then I totally go Ultra. Now, if there's one thing that I change, is really not in the watch itself, but really in the activity and health applications. I love being able to track my daily progress, but I wish this could be tailored to specific goals. For example, as a runner, recovery days are important after speed work or long runs, but for the watch, it's either you close the rings or you don't. For the average consumer, that's perfect, but for anyone training for a marathon, not so much. I'd even say Apple's health application collects far more useful information than Garmin and Fitbit do, but they simply present their data back to you in a more useful dashboard that lets you know if you're improving your physical condition or not. watchOS 9 and 10 have done huge leaps to improve that, particularly with heart rate zones that automatically change based on your performance, and also workout plans for runs, all things that actually work in the watch. You don't even need the phone for this. But I do feel that a little more could be done. Now, in Apple's defense, I'll even be honest that I've switched back to the Apple Watch away from using my Garmin as a daily driver because I'm actually overwhelmed by things like body battery metrics being inaccurate and psychologically making me feel like I need more rest when I know I don't. Point is, if Apple would do that extra push in data insights to make this more of the fitness computer that I feel it pretty much already is, but in a smarter way, or give us those pro features for an extra cost, which we've seen other companies do, and I feel this watch would be invaluable for all crowds and not just the average user. To conclude, I think it's important to look at the bigger picture of what this product represents. The Apple Watch began as a companion to your iPhone, but it's grown to the point where if you have the LTE variant, I don't know if you knew, but you don't really need to carry your phone anymore. This watch will take your calls, respond to your messages, play your favorite media, and then offer the same crash detection and emergency SOS functionality as if your phone were in your pocket. Now, try to think of what other smartwatch does all that, and especially for this price. Keep in mind that even my fitness comparisons were done with a Garmin that costs more than double what this watch costs. This is why the Apple Watch wins. Sure, different designs are nice to have, but I believe a smartwatch itself should focus more on being convenient to the user and not just another screen for notifications or a digital watch that tries to mimic a real watch. I'd say the Apple Watch Series 9 nails that premise better than others. others, and little things like double tap just emphasize this even further. Sure, it's not perfect, but then not even a Rolex is. If I had to recommend the best smartwatch for most people right now, Apple Watch Series 9 would be it. Anyone on Series 7 or 8 could be okay for another year, but that S9 SIP makes this the upgrade I'd recommend most. And listen, those trade-in deals right now look pretty enticing. Let me know if you agree with my assessment in the comments down below, and while you're at it, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can also follow me on my personal handles to see me go back to an Apple Watch and eye the Ultra 2 now more than ever. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.